to communicate is a really powerful tool. And once you get that from being a parent, you can read a room. I mean, you go into something. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We are in for another episode talking about new skills that you're generally never taught. As a mother specifically, I'm sure this is for parents, both mothers and fathers. So new skills you're generally never taught. Jumping right into it, something I've kind of learned on reflection is you become a people organizer, you become a manager of people immediately after you become a parent. So there is no more referring to the boss. You are the boss, which is very interesting. This is kind of a play off of my last episode. This got me thinking and pushing into this episode. So getting right into it, what the heck am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about being a team leader, talking about being a manager, talking about being a organizer of people, of a business, your home, at home with your kids. And this is something that not a lot of people have been taught. I think even if someone was a manager in a previous role in a job that then finds themselves in maternity leave, you are still learning a lot of new skills that you probably didn't have to use or didn't know, or maybe you didn't know that you knew in your old job. So things like time management, people organization, event planning, food. I mean, this is a whole other episode on its own of food. You become a chef after you become a mother, and nobody tells you that. You have to come up with 3 unique meals every single day for all of these little mouths, and people have different preferences and different tastes, and that's a whole other episode. So to start off, I'm going to jump right into research with the Kumon Learning Centers. Now, this isn't a research article. This is just the Kumon Learning Centers, blah, blah. This is just the Kumon Learning Centers that put out a article, and they are a learning development tutor association business in Canada, the US, and Mexico. So they said that you actually learn 10 professional skills through parenthood. So not specifically motherhood, but parenthood. Okay, so you learn these 10 skills. You learn time management. You have to not only have your own stuff together for time, you also have to manage the time of another little person that is working on their own time, which is fun. So time management is one. Crisis management is another. And I know a lot of mothers out there probably just cringed because they're like, oh yeah, that crisis, it's a daily struggle. It's a daily thing with children. Your crisis management is day in and day out at home. I don't have to explain that one anymore. Communication. And communication is, that's a lifelong thing of learning how to speak to kids that can't speak to you yet, and then kids that can somewhat speak, and then older kids that are going to have the hormones and their thoughts and all of this kind of stuff in with their speak, and how do you communicate with them? The next one is organization. It speaks for itself. You're organizing a lot of stuff. Teaching. So teaching how to eat, teaching how to use manners, to be polite, to share, yada, yada, yada. You are learning the skill of supervising. So even though you were drinking your coffee and maybe having a conversation with a friend, your eye has to work like a lizard and be supervising what the children are doing, because they're usually up to something. And usually if it's quiet, something bad. So you are constantly supervising. First thing that comes to mind for me is watching the baby monitor. You're supervising, making sure, are you guys going to bed on time? Are you getting up to mischief? Or are you actually staying in your cribs? The next one is problem solving. Problem solving is a huge one. You're always problem solving. Stuff happens on the fly and you have to come up with a quick solution, a quick way out of it, and a way forward every single day. Problem solving, massive one. And apparently Kumon Learning Center says you get really good at that. Another one is multitasking. Multitasking, yeah, you're a juggler, and you will learn how to have so many apples up in the air that it'll shock the old you pre-parent. The last two are negotiation. So you get really good at the skill of negotiating because you are constantly negotiating with your children to, if you do this, you get this. If you eat this, you get something that you like after. If you are a good girl or a good boy, then we get to go to this play center after, you get to play with a friend. It's a constant negotiation. It becomes part of your daily repertoire, and you get really good at the skill of negotiation. The last one is collaboration. So collaboration in that, yes, you are the parent, yes, you are, somewhat the boss, but you are still collaborating with another human being. And that human being is very unique. They are different than you, even though they came from you. And you are collaborating with them on how they can reach their goals, on how they can grow and be better as a human from the very beginning until they become adults and parents themselves, and I'm sure beyond. So, going off of all of that, Kumon Learning Centers just absolutely nailed it. They hit everything on the head that I wanted to talk about in this episode, and that's it. I'm just kidding. There's a few more things. So, some of the personal things that I wrote down are, you are good at management, people, organization, because you are now the boss. So if you came from a job where you weren't the boss, now you're the boss. You have all these little eyes looking at you saying, hey, boss, what's up? What do we need to do? And what are we going to get from you to be good in going on our journeys to give you what you need, if that makes sense. So you have to figure out, how can I motivate my staff to be the best that they can possibly be, and so that we can all reach our goals together. And that's whatever your goals are. If that's going to bed at an okay time, if that's not having a blowout that day, if that's making sure they're eating and hitting, their weight and their health goals and stuff like that, whatever that means to you. So communication, Kumon Learning Centers mentioned the communication part, and communication, for my personal experience, communicating with the illiterate is interesting because everyone has that baby talk. They talk to their baby in that high-pitched voice, and, you just kind of go into this like blubbery state. But then they start looking at you as they get older with these eyes of like, hey, communicate with me. I know when you're saying certain things, it means that you're happy. I know that when you're saying certain things, it means that you're sad. And you start learning how to communicate with someone that can't talk to you, but all they can do is like give you energy. They can give you connection from locking eyes, and you guys are figuring things out. And I think that's really cool because you are figuring out communicating without words. And that's the biggest way that a lot of us know how to communicate, is through language and using emotion and body language to communicate is a really powerful tool. And once you get that from being a parent, you can read a room. I mean, you go into something, and even if someone doesn't say a word to you, you can kind of sum up, hey, this is maybe where that person's at. This is kind of the vibe that I'm getting from them. This is what they are saying to me, even though they've said nothing to me. So I think that's a really cool thing that you learn being a parent. And that's something that you're not going to get taught. I mean, I'm sure there's a school for that somewhere. There's a school for everything. But you're generally going to learn that later in life once you are a parent. It's something that I felt that I was pretty good at. And then after I had kids, I felt like I was really, really good at, because you just learn so much more through the experience of doing it over and over again, of having someone that can't talk to you. So balancing many tasks is another thing. So yeah, balancing many tasks. I mean, many tasks related to motherhood is a thing. You're balancing tasks of home management. You're managing tasks related to yourself. And as a mother, sharing on here, yeah, things like, I need to shave my legs this week. I need to wash my hair this week. I would love to cut my nails and maybe get a manicure this week, like those kind of tasks. Or I need to go for a walk and just have some form of exercise. I need to make sure I'm doing my stretching, or make sure that I'm eating correctly. Like the tasks that have to do with you as a parent, or you as an individual, I mean, differ from the tasks that you have as a parent, because then you have the tasks of, I need to make sure that my kids are bathed. I need to make sure that they are wearing clean clothes and all of this, and usually put yourself on the back burner. So you are balancing many tasks. So you're balancing the tasks of taking care of little ones, taking care of yourself, taking care of your significant other, the home. If you do have a job as well on top of that, I mean, you're managing a lot of different tasks, and something that is a skill that I feel you don't learn until you live it. So people can say, oh, I'm really, really good at multitasking and balancing a whole bunch of tasks. But until you have balanced like 15 tasks at the same time consistently, do you really gain that skill and gain that what do you call it? Where's the word? Oh, come on, Kelly. That mastery, before you gain that mastery of balancing many tasks and doing it well. Sure, you can do it and stuff can just, fall all over the place and you can break a whole bunch of eggs, but doing it well, getting that mastery is something that you get from doing it with kids, being a parent. Now, jumping into the next thing is planning and pivoting when plans change on the fly. And they do change on the fly. I mean, sometimes you have events that you're going to and your child is sick, or they're having a blowout emotional moment, or they're having a literal blowout in their diaper, and you have to run back inside and change clothes and grab things, and you're always pivoting on the fly, because it's never like, hey, at this time we're going to go and do this, and then at this time we're going to leave and we're going to come back. Rarely, if ever, does that happen in that kind of a flow as a parent. So planning and pivoting, that's something that you get really, really good at as a parent. And that's a skill that you're going to learn through fire. Trust me on that. The next one, kind of getting into nutrition and skin now. So how to feed toothless and then kids with few teeth. So I was absolutely terrified to feed my firstborn, because I always felt like she was going to choke on things. Even if it was mush, I'd feel like I was giving her too much and she would gag, and it's just like your heart stops. So you're learning how to feed someone that can't eat. And I learned this skill in nursing to feed someone that can't chew. And it still was a skill that I had to get good at with children, because it's different. I mean, they're moving all over the place. They're laughing, they're giggling, they're sucking back a whole bunch of air, and they have no teeth. So you're learning how to, or, maybe they have 2 or 4 teeth. That's not enough to really chew. So feeding people with no teeth, that's a new skill that you're going to learn, and you're going to get really good at that. And nutrition. So nutrition, another one that, I've met moms on both sides of the spectrums here, and I can't judge either way. But, some moms are really good at, blending in a whole bunch of greens and veggies and making sure that their kids are getting absolutely every vitamin and mineral possible. I make sure that my kids have a vitamin supplement, and I make sure that they eat. So if they are really picky about something and they're not going to eat anything, I let them kind of get away with that for the first probably year, while they were learning how to eat and trying a whole bunch of new flavors. Because for me, it wasn't, I need you to get this into your body. It was, I need you to learn how to enjoy food, and I need to make sure that you're going to bed with a full tummy. And then when you can understand me and we can sit across the table and have a conversation, work on some negotiation, then I'll make sure that you're eating all of the things that I would love you to finish eating during a meal. So learning how to feed people for nutrition, but also to feed people for growth, that was a big one. And like I said, there's 2 sides of the spectrum there, and I'm definitely on one side, and I know there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can approach that, making sure that you're getting people to eat. Now getting into some skin, so dealing with skin breakdown and diaper rash. So diaper rash is a thing. And I tried to get ahead of that with every single child, of being like, they're not going to get a diaper rash. I'm going to change those diapers so freaking fast. It doesn't matter. When they're changing their food and they're switching from those like mushy liquefied poop to then moving into having more solid poops, and they're eating new foods, they're moving all around and they're mushing it in because they're crawling and they're whatever. it is so hard to deal with diaper rash. And then it's so hard to deal with the aftermath of having an upset child that is so uncomfortable because they have a diaper rash and you're trying to, throw in all the Zincofax and all those kinds of things. And that's not something that you're taught. That's not something that the family doctor's office is going to say, this is how you prevent this. They say, this is how you manage it because it's going to happen. And then again, until you live it, until you experience it, then you go through that. Okay, now I know how to deal with skin breakdown. I know how to deal with a diaper rash and make sure that I can repair this. And interesting enough, that's also a thing that I learned in nursing, but it was different because I was dealing with more sedentary people. So sedentary patients, not someone that has a raging rash on their butt and they are running across the floors or crawling or rolling and like not sitting still, which makes it a lot harder to heal something because they are consistently like rubbing off the cream or re-aggravating the area. Anyways, that's another thing. That's another episode. So constipation is the next thing. Constipation is a tricky thing. I mean, as an adult, you don't really deal with that. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess you do deal with that as an adult, but with a child, you want them to eat and you want them to eat healthily. And even if they're eating like the most nutritious things, they can still get constipated because certain foods are more constipating. So like a news flash to me, I didn't know bananas were super constipating. So what do they say when you're starting to feed your baby? Well, the first thing you should feed them is mashed bananas. Okay, do they say to feed them like mashed prune with it? No. Which helps that they don't get constipated. Or what's the other thing? We'll give them rice pablum and mix that with a little bit of milk or formula and that's it. And then you read about constipation. It says 2 red flag things, bananas and rice cereal will cause constipation. And that's something that I didn't know. So that's something that I learned, a new skill, how to deal with constipation and make sure you're constantly counteracting something. So if your child loves bananas, they're still able to eat bananas, but they're eating it with prune so that they're not going to be super uncomfortable and then start to associate eating bananas with not being able to go to the bathroom. Anyways, a bit of a ramble there, but yeah, constipation's a big thing. So bargaining and negotiation, I mean, I kind of talked about this when I brought it up with the Kumon learning thing. The bargaining and negotiation, it's a funny struggle because you say you're going to take things away, but the things that you say you're going to take away from your children, the ones that, when they get to the point of understanding you, of I'm going to take away that book. And inside you're saying, I don't want to take away that book because you love that book and it's going to break my heart. Also, I want you to have something that entertains you because that's good for me because then you're not looking at me to entertain you. So bargaining and negotiation of, how is this going to work for me? So I'm not just taking away things that then I'm going to start paying for or like paying for emotionally and stress-wise. How do I negotiate so that it's a win-win? That's a fun thing to figure out. And that is a daily lesson for me, still learning that new skill. How to dress better. I mean, maybe it's different for me because I'm a girl mom. So I have 3 little girls, 3, 2, and 6 months old, and they have the cutest clothes. And I've learned over the past 3 years, I mean, minus pregnancy, because during pregnancy, I didn't dress fabulous. I just dressed for comfort. But after, seeing these cute little clothes, you learn how to dress better. So you're like tucking in their shirts and you're like, wow, that actually looks so much better on you because the clothes are fitted and you can see your cute little figure underneath there and the little, diaper bottom beauties and all that kind of stuff. And all of the matching clothes sets and the different colors re-inspires a way to dress for yourself. And so you learn, again, the new skill of how to dress yourself because you kind of go through a lot of different phases in life and new things come up that bring your attention to areas that might have not had a lot of attention. In my life, dressing didn't have a lot of attention. So I'm learning that new skill of how to dress cute. Who knew that I wore a lot of black and gray? Now I'm learning how to wear pink and purple, and I'm loving that. The last thing I had for my notes was a new skill of how to motivate another person towards a positive action. So that is way harder than it sounds. how to motivate someone towards doing something good when you don't know what their motivations are. So when you have a employee, you can learn this employee is really motivated by money, so I'm going to offer bonuses. Or this employee is really motivated by appreciation and accolades, so I'm going to make sure that they have, the title that means a lot to them, or things like that. How to motivate a little person towards a positive action when you don't know what motivates them. That's an interesting one, and that's a new skill of trying a whole bunch of different things, trial by fire, figuring out what's going to motivate you towards a positive action, towards being a positive little individual and doing the right things. That's a new skill. So that's all I'm going to say on that, because I'm still figuring that one out. Now, to finish this up, and I know this is going a little longer, but I read a quote from a paper that was written at the University of Phoenix by a gal named Stella Smith. And I loved this. It was about transferable skills in motherhood. However, the part that really stood out to me, in summary, to not repeat a whole bunch of things that I've already said in this episode, was, I'm just going to quote her word for word because she said it so beautifully. So Miss Stella Smith said that, quote, "Motherhood is a multifaceted role encompassing a myriad of responsibilities that demand a diverse skill set. From that moment of conception, mothers embark on a journey that requires not only emotional fortitude, but also practical prowess, the ability to navigate through the complexities of pregnancy, childbirth, and early childcare necessitates a high degree of adaptability and problem-solving acumen." Boom. Well said, Stella Smith. That's it. That's all I have for you today. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope that you got some value from it. Thank you again for joining me on this journey, and I hope that you go out today or tonight and have an excellent night or an amazing day ahead of you. You're doing a great job. If no one's told you that yet in the last couple days or today, no one's told you that recently, you are doing a killer job as a mother. Keep it up. Keep taking care of yourself. You deserve the world of respect for what you are doing, and I appreciate you. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.